I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. There's another paid request, this time from OneTrueMisfit. Thank you so much for that. If anyone's interested in requesting any other type of videos or topics or reactions or anything of the sort, it could be random, it could be pretty much whatever, feel free to request it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both things are down below in the info box. Now this is for Citizen Kane. I don't mind the film. I liked it. Right off the bat, I know it's considered the best film of all time by certain groups of people. I don't feel that, but I do feel it's a good movie, in particular on a visual front, especially for how it was back in 1941. And it's a story dealing with Charles Foster Kane. He's died. Reporters want to know what is the meaning of his last words, Rosebud. And it did a lot of things that were not normally done back in the day. Unless you watch maybe certain German films or other silent films of that nature. But certain ways of camera angles, certain ways of showing the angles where it shows the person and the entire ceiling. The way it's done in flashback form. That wasn't a typical thing nowadays. Usually it was very A to B to C. But Orson Welles wanted to make this film his own. Wanted to base it on this rich newspaper guy, tycoon. And the guy found out about it and then tried to sue. And pretty much said, you're not releasing this film. Or if you don't release this film, there's a lot of shit that's going to happen. And you're not going to get much play. And you're going to be in deep trouble. And there's actually a film, RKO 2A1, I forget the name. I reviewed it. That tells a little bit of the backstory of that. About how, the newspaper guy found out that this was kind of based on him and really wanted to shut it down and censor it. There's an interesting backstory on the movie. And the story, to be fair, wasn't the most interesting story to me. It's just, okay, look into the life and death of this guy where he was a kid, his parents because his parents found this gold mine, they knew he was going to be rich, so instead of staying with them, they said, hey, you be with these people. I didn't understand 100%. It's like, maybe you just wanted to get rid of the kid, but they say, well, if you go with this guy, you'll have a better life. I'm like, well, if you guys found a gold mine, wouldn't you already have a better life? But, whatever. But go with this guy, and by the time you're 25, you don't get the remains of this mine, you don't be rich from this gold. I'm like, well, aren't you rich now if you have this gold mine? But I say, whatever. Again, maybe they just wanted a reason to get rid of the kid. But anyway, he doesn't want to go, but he ultimately does go. He grows up. He becomes 25. He opens up this publishing thing, more so scandalous articles, and he likes to push it. He likes to push it and push it and push it some more. And you get the idea this is a man who, at the end of the day, being pulled away from his mom did affect him, maybe more so than he wants to admit. So even though he wants to find love, at the same time he's pushing people out of his life. So he's a dominating character who, because of his actions, because of the way he reacts to stuff, he lives his final days in isolation in this big, almost fortress he's made of himself, called Xanadu, funny enough, just nothing to do with the Xanadu many, many years later with Olivia Newton-John. And like the acting was fine. Orson Welles did a good job as Charles Foster Kane. His younger days had a more playful tone to him. As he grows older, much more of a dominating figure. And again, the reporter trying to find the meaning of this word rosebud interviews people. And at one point interviews, and it's a portion that happened when he was 25. Or this portion later in life, and this portion back to when he was 25. So it's not a linear story. But yeah, I can't really say I was the most interested in the story. What I liked, though, was, again, Orson Welles' performance, and really it was the direction, the art design, the lighting, the camera angles. So this is definitely a movie I enjoy more on a visual level than a story level. I'm sorry, that's how I feel. Yes, I got more out of the story in Aliens or something else than the story of this. Because it's just a guy who grew up to be a dominating asshole because of mommy issues, because of other issues that he didn't want to face or he couldn't face, or, the one time he could remain calm is Rosebud, which you find out at the end is the sled. It's the sled he has as a kid, so part of him, you get the idea he rather wished to be the poor boy living with his family and growing up in that. He would have been happier that way than being this rich tycoon guy. And I'm sure you can look much deeper into that. But like I said, I did enjoy the visual aspects. The beginning, showing the dilapidated remains of Kane's place that seems out of a horror movie. The snow, and it fades into a snow globe and a hand, and the way it's directed where, I'm a sucker for visual style in films, because I watch films, it's a visual medium, and granted, just because a film does that doesn't automatically mean I'll like it, but I do appreciate it. I appreciate the effort, especially back in the 1940s where that was not a normal typical thing. Like, people could do this nowadays, but it's much harder to do this stuff in the 40s. You watch a lot of those films, they're fairly basic in presentation, shot here, shot there, for the most part. But this was, again, very visual with how, like, the snow globe, it goes down, it breaks, the nurse comes in, and we see the nurse reflected in the broken snow globe as she finds this person dead. And certain bits of lighting and mood, like when the reporter is reading through stuff, and you have these wide shots, and you have this bit of lighting shining through. Again, it creates a mood and atmosphere to it. Certain angles that are lower showcase the entire room. Again, on a film historian level, a guy like me who enjoys learning about that stuff, it is fascinating. It is interesting. I don't know what people would get out of it today, storyline wise. I think they would think it's a basic story propped up by wonderful visuals. And you know what? They probably have a point to that. They probably have a valid point to that. But the acting is fairly good. Orson Welles, What would you like to have been? Everything that you hate. Or, you know what? Yeah, I lost money. Lost $1 million last year. Lost $1 million this year. I'll lose $1 million next year. At this rate, I'll lose $1 million for the next 50 years. And he just doesn't care. He still wants to do this paper with these big scandalous articles. I think what they call yellow journalism, where they might not get all the facts and details right and correctly, but it's I guess in a way, sort of I almost want to say the National Inquisitor of its time, but I don't know if that'd be the right way to put it. And like his life, there's a point he married his wife. He married someone who was the president's niece or daughter, niece, his president's niece, and he has a kid. But okay, right there with the story, you would think there'd be something to do with him, and he has a kid. He has a child. I don't remember any moments that he shared with his child. Even throughout, I guess, later in his life. You think that'd be an important aspect of the story or the script? Where if he's thinking of his moments as a child, well, you have a child. So what are you doing to him, and what you think you're not... It's like the child is almost an afterthought. There are times where I completely forgot this character had a kid. And there's a point where those characters completely disappear. And it's not... I mean... That seems like an aspect of the story that could have been propped up more and strengthened more and looked into more. But it's, again, almost an afterthought, which I thought was rather weird, because that's an important thing of having a kid. You would think so in this person's life, but apparently that's not the case. And then he had a second wife who he forced to be an opera singer. She didn't want to, and there was a point she wanted to commit suicide. He said, okay, fine, you won't be that anymore. There's a point he wanted to be a governor, but then there was a scandal because he was with the president's niece, but then he fell for a lady that he'll later force to be an opera singer. And because of that scandal and adulterous affair, his governor hopes were dashed. Or he'll talk to his buddy, and his buddy goes, you want to persuade people that you love them so that... You want to persuade people that you love them so much that they'll love you back. And you do get a little bit to the psychology of Charles Foster Kane. It's just that... I guess for me, I just didn't find him as interesting of a character as apparently Orson Welles did of the real guy he based this guy on. I don't find him as... Maybe because nowadays, you throw a rock, you'll find someone like that in the news. In politicians, almost any politician. You throw a rock, you'll find someone like that. Maybe back in the 40s, that was more of a rare thing. So maybe that's the disconnect for me, seeing this film in today's age, let alone back in the 1940s. So, and then the story just wasn't as strong to me as it was to other people. But I keep repeating myself, the visual aspects, the music is well done, fits the film, the beautiful shots, very later on, near the end of the movie, where he's walking by a mirror, and it's one of those mirrors where it's reflective, so you see like multiple versions of him as he walks by. There's a point where he gets a trophy and someone's ready to present him the trophy, and before he comes in, you have like all the faces of his people worked there, positioned in the perfect way, so they're all lining up against this trophy in this up close shot. Listen, moments of direction like that, I think the direction in this is top notch, the visual look is top notch, Orson Welles gives a good performance, the others do fine. They do fine. It's just the story, I'm not really of a big... It's alright. It just, the story was nothing that impressed me much. I think that's really why I don't put it as it's not a story that I'm that fascinated by. It's not a story that gravitates me. Oh, well, you like this. Yeah, the story of a guy wanting to defeat the bad guys, take gas, take names, save the day, save the girl. As simple as a story that is, that's more of a appealing story. Or 127 Hours. Or Shawshank Redemption. More serious movies. Those stories gravitate me towards them more than the story of this guy who got full of himself, had issues from the past, pretty much pushed everyone out of his life, and died a lonely guy. And at the end of the day, hey, don't be like Charles Foster Kane. Hanging on to that rosebud, the sled, that distant memory of probably the happiest, sincerely happiest time of his life. And with all the money in the world, it still never filled that void of emptiness and was never truly happy. So, good visual level, music, Orson Welles' performance. The story was, eh. So I liked Citizen Kane. I liked the film. But do I consider it the best movie of all time? To me, no. But I liked it. So I don't know what else to say. Most people have written entire books on this film. To me, it's like a 15-minute review. So, there you go. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.